ABC News. This is 9/11.
So most everybody has left Ground Zero in New York now, and it's similarly true at the Pentagon. The people are still gathered at Shanksville in Pennsylvania, but they have left this. This was called the Ring of Honor, the Circle of Honor, early this morning, and you can see now it reminds one a little bit of so many places in the country after September 11th a year ago, including Union Square here in New York and all around Ground Zero, people just leaving things. And you see very close, could we go back to that just for 1 second? Because if you notice in the foreground, in the ring, in the foreground here, you see they brought pictures again of their kin. And one of the most painful experiences for New Yorkers a year ago today was relatives going all over the city holding pictures of their relatives. Have you seen this man? Have you seen this woman? My husband is lost. And you went everywhere, and they were on railings all around Ground Zero, and they were on railings in the public squares. And by way of tribute today, they have brought them back to put them in that Circle of Honor at Ground Zero, where there were really moving ceremonies today, and where all of the names were read. Some of them, of course, who died so absolutely heroic. We want to talk, actually, in this half hour about the heroes of September 11th, and there were many of them. I found a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson the other day, who once wrote, "Heroism feels and never reasons, and therefore is always right." And as we know, the tragedy made heroes of hundreds of firefighters and the rescue workers, but there were also many stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, unsung heroes who felt the need to help. We asked our correspondent Michele Norris to put together a piece on two people. One is a bouncer, and the other is an architect.
It was like a magnet. I was pushed or pulled towards World Trade Center.
I showed them my Red Cross certification card. They said, "Yeah, we need you. Let's go. Get on the truck," and they drove me in.
On the morning of September 11th, most New Yorkers tried to get as far away as possible from the World Trade Center. But Mike Bellone and Jiri Boudnick had the opposite instinct.
I heard a lot about you.
Both men fought to reach Ground Zero, desperate to help. Mike Bellone, a 300-pound nightclub bouncer from Brooklyn, hitched a ride into Manhattan on a fire truck.
That was my goal. I wanted to pull one person out alive.
In another part of Brooklyn, Jiri Boudnick saw the inferno from a construction site. An architect and structural engineer, he immediately recognized that the towers were likely to topple.
My reaction was to just grab my hard hat, and I took a portable radio, flashlight, and started walking across Brooklyn Bridge.
At Ground Zero, Boudnick joined rescue workers and civilian volunteers, sifting through the rubble with their bare hands.
We were finding nothing but expired bodies and body parts and all kinds of stuff I never seen before.
Mike Bellone threw himself into the rescue effort, a big man who turned out to be a big asset.
The firemen that I came in with, they said, "Mike, what we really need you to do, since you're a pretty big guy, is we're going to need you to come in with us and just help us lift the girders to see who we can find." And that's what I did. I just started lifting up beams and helping them jump into the voids, into the holes where the windows used to be.
Hello? The work was both grueling and gruesome, but Bellone couldn't imagine being anywhere else.
And he saw a lot of things which a lot of people haven't seen in their lifetime. And he helped. He didn't flinch. He stayed there right through.
Bellone quickly became an indispensable volunteer. He learned how to operate heavy excavation tools. He was the fixer.
I call him the angel of the pit because his answer to anything you need done is no problem.
Iron Man. Mike is the Iron Man of the Trade Center.
During 9 months of recovery and cleanup, Bellone never left the pit for more than a few hours. On Saturday nights, he faithfully returned to Brooklyn.
Hi, D-girls.
Reporting for work at the Legacy Disco. But the rest of the week belonged to Ground Zero. Bellone even slept just steps from the site in St. Paul's Church.
I would rather sleep on the pew than the cot. The cot was too comfortable. If I slept in the pew, I would only get a couple of hours sleep. So this way I would get back up without any problem.
Along the way, he found a new family, adopted by the tight brotherhood of grieving New York firefighters.
I guess you get a medal or a statue. I mean, there's a lot of people that should get medals and statues. But, you know, he was special.
I got a chance to make and to work with the greatest men on earth, who hold down the greatest job on earth, fire department. Those guys, man, I love them.
Bellone's sheer brawn served him well in the pit, but things were different for Jiri Boudnick. A Czechoslovakian immigrant who defected to America 15 years ago, Boudnick was determined to help a city he'd come to love. He simply lacked the stomach for work in the pit.
There were a ton of people helping with their hands and, you know, looking through the debris. And I thought, how can I help that would really make a difference?
With his architectural training, Boudnick realized what rescue workers needed most, a visual tool to spot stairwells, elevator shafts, air pockets.
So I knew that we shouldn't be just kind of randomly looking through this pile of debris. We should locate and exactly pinpoint the areas where survivors can still, you know, be alive.
Boudnick remembered that his college, Cooper Union, kept a set of detailed plans for Lower Manhattan in the school's library. The problem, the school, like most of Manhattan, was closed. So he tracked down the college president at home.
On Saturday morning, following September 11th, I was in my house, which is right down the street, in my bathrobe, and, you know, in the midst of this tension and so on, and the bell rings, and there's a stranger at my door.
And he says, "Who are you?" So I showed him my pass, and I said, "I'm Jiri Boudnick, and I need your help."
It was very intense, very eager, very enthusiastic, and was clearly a man with a mission.
With plans in hand, Boudnick constructed an architectural model that helped rescue workers make sense of the mountain of debris.
He put together first a cardboard model to help people understand what was both above ground and what was also below ground.
But he still wanted to do more, so he quit his engineering job to create a project called Brainstorm. The goal? Build a three-dimensional model of Ground Zero using computer animation.
It was just total mess. Can you imagine 70 feet of debris pile? And so this model kind of helped to orientate everybody.
Through site visits and countless interviews with rescue workers, Boudnick and his team created a stunning visual tool to pinpoint danger zones.
Recreating the site and showing, okay, here you can't walk, or here you can't place a crane or any equipment.
The model, for instance, helped Ground Zero construction workers avoid a deadly mistake.
And what would happen if they were to just pull this building away is this wall would then start to fall down and start causing problems for some of the lower floors that were down below there. There was lots of firemen that were down there looking for other firemen or any survivors, and they could have all been killed by these falling slabs.
Boudnick developed the 3D model hoping that it would help find survivors. There were none, but it did protect against a further loss of life.
It's an amazing feat, and to be able to say that all that was done without another fatality is amazing.
Even though the recovery effort is officially over, both men maintain strong ties to Ground Zero. Boudnick is fine-tuning his computer model to help other cities prepare for disaster.
And we don't want to have another situation where everybody's running around. It's like we have no set of plans.
Bellone, meanwhile, talks to school children about September 11th.
That's what helped us. Your cards and letters, your support.
And he has earned a new title, Safety Director for the New York Fire Department. Both men are too modest to call their work heroic, but those who labored alongside them see it quite differently. Michele Norris, ABC News, New York.
I want to meet two people now who've been sitting here watching this piece. On my immediate right is Fred EICHLER, who was the Senior Vice President at EICHLER. EICHLER. Yeah. Company's gone out of business since 9/11, but yes. Fred got off the 83rd floor, and next to him, Jonathan Judd, who actually had his office on the 85th floor, working for a law firm, but was in an elevator and got out at the 83rd floor. And first of all, we're just very grateful both of you have come. I'll ask you about that, but I just wonder, you know, I was just sitting here watching out of the corner of my eye the Michele Norris report, and I noticed you were too. do you feel when you watch all this stuff on television, these recreations, other people talking about it, Jonathan?
It's a little overwhelming. I mean, you are constantly reliving what happened. But somehow I've managed to deal with it pretty well somehow. I think it's because it's so enormous that it just has never completely sunk in.
Are there any benefits to reliving it as often as you've been obliged to? Except one benefit, surely, is the fact that you survived it.
Well, that's there's no doubt about that. But I think it's good on an anniversary like this that so many people have been calling me and emailing me and showing so much support, and that's really therapeutic. And that happened immediately after this occurred as well. So I'm really thankful to all those people.
Fred?
Basically feel the same. Today has been a tougher day than I expected. But, I mean, over the year, it's been difficult to try to get away from it, especially living in New York. You're constantly reminded of, you know, the attack and everything else.
And who you are as part of our history.
Absolutely.
Today was tougher. I'm not the slightest bit surprised, but tell us why.
Just reliving what had happened. One of the events of that day was I actually saw the plane hit the building.
I know you did. Just amazed.
And as soon as it hit, our corridor became an inferno, and we were trapped in our office. And right about that time, my wife called, my parents called, and my daughter Michele called. And I never told them what the situation really was, but I honestly thought that's going to be the last time I'm going to speak to them. So, you know, that's been flashing through my mind pretty often today.
Jonathan, you both got out of the 83rd floor in the North Tower, and not a lot of people got out from that high up. Do you mind telling us how?
Would you like me to start with how?
I'd like you to start wherever you feel comfortable.
Okay. Well, I was in an elevator. I worked on the 85th floor, and on 83, I was kind of leaning against the side of the elevator because I hadn't had much sleep. My daughter, Jordana, was just born 6 weeks before, and she had been up during the night, so I was really out of it, and all of a sudden I heard this whoosh as soon as this person got off on 83. And I looked up and I saw the 3 elevators directly across from me in the same elevator bank were in flames. They exploded, and some of the doors were askew on the elevator shafts. If I had been in one of those, I probably would have died instantly. True. And I ran immediately for the first place where I didn't see any fire, which was Fred's office. And people later asked me, why didn't you try to run right out the stairway? Well, you couldn't, because the entire lobby area was on fire, and I didn't want to go anywhere near there. So I ran in, and that's how I met Fred, the hard way.
And Fred, how did you guys find the stairway?
Well, we were trapped in our office for, it turns out, about 45 minutes, until about 9:30. But backing up about 15 minutes, when what we now know was the second plane, when that hit, we didn't know what it was. And we heard this massive explosion, and we thought the floors above us were caving in on us. At that point, we did try to get out, and the sprinkler system had doused the flames somewhat in the lobby. And we started...
This is in the lobby on 83?
On 83, right outside our front doors. And as we were walking to what we believed was this stairwell, and we got probably maybe 5 feet from it, and then all the lights went out, and we could not see whether it was a stairwell, a closet, or anything else. So we said, well, we're going to go back to our office and hopefully be rescued. Basically, the decision was go back and either be rescued or die.
And you were rescued, Jonathan?
Yes. Yeah.
How?
It was a miracle, as far as I'm concerned. After waiting there for quite a long time, we were in an office where there were glass doors, thankfully, because there was so much smoke out in the hallway. We finally saw these 2 beams of light shining, and the 2 people came with flashlights and said, get out of here right now, leave everything, and let's go. And I never knew who they were, but Fred told me that one was a fireman and one was a Port Authority officer, and they continued on their way up trying to help other people, so I don't believe that they made it out.
But it was, as I know, Fred, because of the glass door, and you saw the policeman's flashlight.
Yes, I saw
other people behind other doors did not see the flashlight.
I saw the beam of light, and as Jonathan said, they came into our office. They said, drop whatever you have. And the stairwell from 83 to 78 was absolutely treacherous. And in fact, I almost slipped 2 or 3 times. And we got to the 78th floor, went through the lobby, the door into the skyline.
78th floor of the North Tower is where there is basically a lobby where a lot of the elevators in the North Tower actually converge, and it was beyond belief at that point.
There were some people in it, you know, and then we walked along the elevator bank to the other end of the building and started our way down from 78. We got to the 5th floor, and the whole stairwell filled up with smoke. And at that point, we were stopped for, I don't know, could have been 10 minutes, and we were taken to another stairwell where we waited. And then the fire department split the group up. Some went back to the original stairwell, and some stayed at the new one. And we got down to the lobby, and I know I walked out of the building about 4 minutes before it collapsed.
You know, it's true. I feel very self-conscious about imposing on you both today, Jonathan. And it's true. We all want to hear your stories over.
I'd rather tell the story than the alternative.
Yeah, and we want to hear your story over and over again. When you finally got, just last question for you. When you finally got to the bottom, what was it like?
Well, I came out in what was the lobby at one point, but I didn't recognize it. There was no chrome, no glass, no marble. It looked like Hiroshima. That's what it looked like. And I couldn't believe it. And I said to myself, if the plane crashed so high up, how could the lobby look like this? And I didn't know that the other tower came down. That must have been the reason why it looked like that. But never in my wildest dreams did I think that that could even happen. It didn't even cross my mind. So everybody was yelling, run out, run out. And there was a big beam coming out of the wall, swinging. And everyone was saying, run, run. And I said, the beam's going to hit me. There was a woman there wearing high-heeled shoes, and she said, I can't even walk on this, much less run. And I grabbed her arm. I dragged her across the lobby, and we got out through a broken window on the bottom.
Thank you very much, both of you. I know that, I just tell the audience, both Fred and Jonathan have participated in a project which we have done with USA Today, which is, I think, probably the most accurate, most precise recollection of what it was like in the building on the day. And so we're going to see you both again this evening. But I hope it's helped today to tell. Is it helped to tell the story?
Yes.
Yeah. As you said, the alternative is so horrific. And thank you, Jonathan, very much. Thank you, Fred, both of you.
Thank you.
Wish your families well. Fred Eichler and Jonathan Judd, and they're going to participate with us on tape tonight, on this program tonight in our primetime coverage. And they're both quite stunning. So much of that day, in fact, we began with them talking about meeting each other and staying in touch, having lunch, becoming friends. So much of that day was about people trying to find family and friends and children